I'm here to tell you that your whole life can change in a moment. And this is that moment. And this is the word.
Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to yet another amazing episode of The Word. I am only one half of this amazing duo of Featherstone lovers. My name is Steve.
And I'm Dan, the other half. What's happening, everybody? Welcome to The Word. This is Season 4, Episode 3, entitled Deviant. You know what, Steve? I have no freaking clue what's going on this morning, man. I have all this energy. I went to bed around 2. I was procrastinating. I was writing the notes late. And then I didn't finish. So I woke up around 6. And normally I'd be like, God, kill me. And I was fine. Totally fine. I don't know. Maybe I'll fade out later this evening.
Maybe you're happy today.
Maybe so. It's first time for everything.
You are often happy.
Hey, you know who's happy, Steve?
What?
These damn preacher watchers, man. I think.
The Preachers?
I'm curious if the Preachers, the congregation. New word. You can keep it. It's all right. Just hashtag that bitch. I wonder how they're dealing with Season 4 so far. I'm wondering how you're dealing with Season 4 so far.
All right. I will say the first episode of Season 4. First 2. Dude, I was in.
Okay, just before you say another word, I am hearing the word was. Past tense. This worries me.
Okay, now, I am still in, but I can see how they're just being like, see him? Peace out.
Yes.
See that? Peace
Yep.
out. See him? Peace out. And I'm like, oh, we're not supposed to. It's just supposed to be like a, at the end of a play where you're bringing out everybody for their bowing. And I'm just like kind of saluting everybody, being like, peace out. All right, good seeing you. All right, see you later. Like, oh, good job. You know, I'm just saying goodbye. And I'm okay with that. I'm not supposed to be head over heels for these episodes. I just think it's saying farewell.
That's a really good way of looking at it. Seriously, it is, man, because I feel the exact same way. I'm not going to say I'm disappointed with the season so far or anything like that. I'm actually enjoying it. Like I said before, it's a completely different vibe now. But I think that they finally realized that, oh, we have a whole bunch of story that we didn't put out. We've got one season to do it. Let's just chop it up and just throw everything at them. And that's what this episode really seems to be, to me anyway. I mean, it had some really cool stuff, something that I was really happy to see. But it makes me kind of wonder, and we'll get into it as we start breaking it down, but it makes me kind of wonder, was it necessary? Like, I appreciate the gesture, but does it help the story? Could they have put something else in there? I don't know. And it's really weird because when people have asked me what I think of this season so far and what I think's going to happen, I have been mum's the word about that because, like I said before, the cards are so shuffled that I really have no idea what's going to come next, particularly after this episode.
I'm going to go ahead and call it. Featherstone is killing Hairstar.
You think?
He made a comment today that I think is a bigger deal than people think it is. I think she's going to kill him.
I think I know what you're talking about. That comes a little bit later, but yes, we'll talk about that because you might be right.
I have a feeling that they were saying, hey, don't you hate when you're called this? And I'm like, oh, I think they're setting up where she's like, you know what? Screw you. Blag. Watch. I love Featherstone.
She's so great, man.
Love Tulip this season.
I'm going to jump off of that, Steve, and I'm going to take this time to make an announcement.
Ooh, all right.
So I didn't want to say anything just yet because I was working on a couple of things, and one of them has been locked into place. I have a date. I don't know exactly when you guys are going to hear this, but we will be having Julianne Emery back on the show for an interview.
Oh, nice.
3rd time. That's pretty awesome, right? She's so cool, and she said she'd come back on. Now, I'm still working on something, but it's a different something because I'll go ahead and share this with you. I'd say that I was probably 98% sure that I had this locked down, and it just fell through this weekend. But I was going to have Tyson Ritter come on the show as well to talk with us. Tyson Ritter, who plays Humperdew, by the way. And he's unfortunately not going to be able to come on the show. He was really nice about it, but he is in the middle of moving out of the country and recording an album with the All American Rejects. It's not a problem. Totally understand. Maybe sometime in the future. We'll see what happens.
I was not familiar with Tyson Ritter until you told me about him. And it's like when you get a new car. I'm like, no one has pink bugs. And then you see pink bugs everywhere. Now I'm seeing All American Rejects everywhere.
Yeah, they're coming back.
I did not see this before.
Plus, he's acting, so you've probably seen him in some movies too.
Oh yeah, now I'm seeing him in a lot of stuff.
What's the last thing I saw him in? I saw him in Peppermint. Remember that one?
I didn't. I don't even know what that is.
Well, that's neither here nor there, Steve. But you know what is, man? We've got this whole show to do. Yesterday, Deviant, episode 3 came out. And before we get into that, we have a few things that we got to square away. If you don't mind, sir, I would like to give these people a way to connect with us. Do you mind terribly if I do that?
That's rock and roll.
Ah, thank you, sir. Hola, ¿qué tal? Me llamo Dan Ramirez, and welcome to The Word, the Unofficial PREACHER Podcast. Check this out, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to get a hold of the show, hit us up at askthewordpodcast@gmail.com. That's askthewordpodcast@gmail.com. On Twitter, you can hit us up at word_podcast. You can reach me, Dan, at DanQPublic, and you can reach Steve over there at SE_Hudson Music. We have a website combined with our other podcast, Heroes of Noise, and all you got to do is go to www.heroesofnoise.com. There you can leave us voicemails, you can email us there, and you can listen to all of the shows, you can subscribe, all of that stuff. Also, this is important, we've got t-shirts. You want yourself a Word, the Unofficial PREACHER Podcast t-shirt to remember the show as we, fade off into the sunset? Well, that's there for you. Check it out. They're cheap, too. We'll make you a good deal on it. I know a guy. Other than that, we're going to get back to this show. We got a lot to talk about today. Like, a lot to talk about. So, with that, I'm going to pass it back over to the one, the only, Steve Hudson.
I love the pause, dude. The pause is so
I went really morning radio on that one. It felt good. On that note, when we put information out there, information may come back on occasion. And guess what? It did. And it's in the form of our listener, Pedro. Pedro writes in, Steve, "Hey guys, good to have you back. During the scene where Jesse is waiting at the airport, I felt they were going to introduce Spaceman, Jesse's dad from the Army. Did you feel the same?" He's referring to Billy Baker, aka Spaceman. It was a friend of John Custer. And in the comic, I believe he goes up to him at the Vietnam Memorial, if I'm not mistaken. And that's where they have this little story exchange. I hope I'm not making that up, but I'm pretty sure that's the case. To answer your question, Pedro, no, I didn't really think that at all. And like I just said a little while ago, I really don't know what the hell's going to happen now. So if Billy Baker does show up, I wouldn't be surprised, but I have a feeling he's not going to be around too long. Like if he was, he wasn't in the comic very much to begin with. So I imagine he's just going to be a blip on the radar if he shows up in this show. In fact, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that I don't expect to see him at all, but I could be wrong. We'll see.
I don't think so either, only because the people that they are showing, they're showing for like when you give Jesus Desaad or Jesus Desaad that quick of a showing, everyone else underneath that is probably not going to get anything.
Right. We got Sex Detectives this time around, and that was all of, 5 minutes maybe?
Dude, that's not, and so anyone around that or under that, they're just not going to get it. I don't think they're going to be able to put everybody. They would need probably 6 seasons to actually do a legit. I wouldn't, more like 8 to do a legit, thorough, every character thing in the show. So I would say, unfortunately, we're probably not going to see them.
He's not that big of a character to me, but it would have been cool to see him. I just think that with the time that we have left, I just hope that they get the ending right. That's honestly what my goal is for this show, is just to get the ending right. As long as we see the Saint on a goddamn throne, Steve, I'm going to be happy.
For me, the only reason that I say I'm not disappointed that we're not going to see him is because of the brevity of it. If we went 11 seasons, then I would be disappointed. But since it's so fast, I'm not disappointed. But yeah, with the brevity of this season, it's totally fine.
He goes on to ask another question where he says, do you think Preacher will give us Cassidy's story from when he arrived in New York? You know what I think we're going to get out of this whole New York thing?
What's that?
I think they're doing this simply so we can see Cassidy jump off the Empire State Building.
That would be so cool.
I think they're going for those iconic shots, dude.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we're going to get. It would be really cool to see him and Jesse up on the Empire State Building shooting the shit, because they have to tie it back together again,
They do. You're right.
Yeah, so I'm thinking this is going to be the case. I think we're going to get Tulip and Jesse going back to New York. They're going to meet up with Cassidy, and my prediction is that we will see him jump off the Empire State Building.
That would be nice.
He says, can't wait for the podcast. Pedro, good hearing from you, man. Thanks for writing in.
Pedro! What's going on, brother? Always wonderful. Pedro! So yeah, I mean, look, like I said before, this episode is an interesting one for me. For anyone who's been a fan of Preacher, who've read the comics, I have a feeling that everyone is unanimous in what they think. I'm almost sure they're like, would have liked more, but it's a great farewell. I mean, one of the characters, I was like, does he come back? I was like, is that it for real? I'm fairly shocked.
I'm kind of wondering what people that haven't read the comic are thinking of the series now, because it's got to be crazy. Like, you went from a very linear story that lasted the entire season, that had a big, had a first, second, and third act to it, to just like a crazy slideshow or something. I mean, it's just scene after scene, completely scrambled. I could imagine that it's screwing with people that are just sort of either new to Preacher or haven't read the comic.
Agreed. Yeah, for me, like the kid arc, what was the point of that?
Filler, I think. There's another scene that a lot of people liked on Twitter, I saw, and I thought it was pretty cool too, but when it all comes down to it, filler. I don't want to present like a negative tone about the show, because I really don't mean it that way, but I'm just calling it like it is this season. Hell, this is all we have left, and to me, it just seems like there's a lot of filler going on in this one.
Oh, for sure. And I think it's giving people a time to shine. Like, Featherstone is shining. Tulip is shining, dude.
Yeah, they're both fantastic.
They are killing it. So I'm looking forward to what they do with them.
I want to see Cassidy get a little more action, but I still think he's killing it as well, because Joseph Gilgan can only kill it. Like, he's doing fantastic. He's been great. Him and Tulip have always been like the stars of the show to me, and they're doing great.
With what they're giving him.
Yes.
Killing it. Do I like what they're giving him? Not really. We'll talk about that during the breakdown.
So with that, Steve, I think we can actually just get down to it, man.
Take a break.
Yeah, you didn't talk a lot last time. Let's get you involved, sir.
Oh, I'm ready this time.
You got opinions?
Oh, yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is The Breakdown, Season 4, Episode 3, entitled Deviant. There's that word again, entitled. It's written by Sarah Goodman and directed by Kevin Hooks, and we shall begin promptly. All right, Steve, so we open the show with what seems to be some sort of like high-end beauty product commercial. It's selling anti-aging cream, and you see this beautiful woman that's in a gown, and she's walking slowly towards the camera. Yeah. She gets embraced by this handsome stud, comes up behind her, and he like whispers, the narrator, of course, is like yammering on about eternity and fresh starts and things like that. The guy comes up behind her when he embraces her, and he's like, "What's your secret?" And she does what I love commercials do that don't do these anymore. You only see this in like the early 80s and the 70s, where they're like, "I'll never tell." I love that shit.
So good.
We find out that this commercial is actually an ad for Toscani's face cream. The label says, "Now with more foreskin." This presents a good point. Somebody brought something up, but we realize now that he's been utilizing Cassidy's foreskins with the vampire powers to create this eternal face cream. So I'm sure he's got the market cornered, right?
It's an original idea, but it brings up the point of, how long has he been there then?
Well, that's the thing, is that we flash forward in this one. We do weird jumps, time jumps.
So he must have been there for like a year now?
I'm thinking it's like 6-7 months.
Okay, that's fair.
Something like that.
That's fair. And Cassidy still has not made his great escape.
No, he has not. But it's his own fault, right? Because he could have done so.
Totally. He's in a depression because someone else is better than him right now at what they do. Like, Preacher's better than Cassidy at what he does. Well, he has a cheat code kind of too. But still.
Yeah, he's definitely got the major cheat code.
He got a cheat code, but he's also seen him handle business without the cheat code. And I think it's making Cassidy feel of less than the vampire he is. He's not what he used to be.
Right. Not to mention Jesse has the girl.
But the only way to get the girl is he feels like, I need to be like a amazing person like Jesse, and Jesse just seems to always be the hero.
But you know what, Steve? I think he might have the girl already, and he doesn't even know it.
Ooh.
You know how they say that in movies? Like, it was right there in front of you the whole time. You just had to look into your heart. I think it's there, dude.
Maybe he had her at hello.
Oh, man. I'm going to take away points for that, but I'll go ahead and continue on this conversation, Jerry McFreakin-Guire. Yeah, you completely threw my whole groove off with this Jerry Maguire reference.
All right. Anyway, go on. We're
God damn you. So the commercial has the final line of, "Aging doesn't have to be torture."
Nice.
We get the next shot of Cassidy screaming bloody murder. And he has this, I guess it's like an automated slicer that's like just working on his junk, cutting the foreskins off. They're plopping out of this tube into this receptacle. And also, this is very smart of the Grail, to have blood hooked up through IV. So every time he loses something, the blood regenerates. It's pretty smart. I don't know where they're getting all this blood from, but it's a pretty smart idea.
You know?
This camera pans out, Steve, and we see that we're in this like whole little factory, if you will. It's like an assembly line of sorts. There's people that are packing up what I have to assume is like just a shit ton of face cream. And they're sending these off. We get this exterior shot, and the title card flashes, and we see that we're now in Bensonhurst. And not only are we in Bensonhurst, but we are actually at the site of Toscani's manufacturing. One of their trucks drives away with all that foreskin cream to make everyone look beautiful, and then we move on from there.
Okay, real quick. This is not, I'm not being negative, Dan. Okay?
Are you sure?
Do you think this is going to somehow, the Tuscany face cream is going to somehow further the plot, maybe wrap around later? Or do you think this was just something that, this will be funny, and now we're just not going to ever hear anything about it?
That's a really good question, because it seems like at this point they've gone too far to stop. And if they stop now, it's like, what was the point?
That's what I'm saying. Like, if maybe later on someone's like, I'm using this amazing face cream, like episodes down the road. But if they never bring up this face cream again, then I got to be like, well, then
it's just a throwback to when Cassidy was saying that they put, it was baby foreskins, though, I think, which was kind of jacked up. Putting baby foreskins and yogurt. And I think he said face cream, too, if I'm not mistaken.
And so I'm like, okay, is that all? Which is fine, which is perfectly fine. But the whole time I'm like, as it was going, I said, I wonder, cool, the face cream thing. And then it just kind of disappears in the middle of the episode.
Yeah, never comes back.
Wait a minute.
If I was a betting man, Steve, and I am sometimes, I would say that it's probably going to come back around.
Done deal.
So we get this flashback of Cassidy being thrown into his cell back at Masada again. So we have had yet another, I don't know if I guess it's like a flashback kind of time jumpy thing. You know what I'm saying? He's being handcuffed. As he's being handcuffed, Frankie's telling him that Hairstar wanted him to actually be out in the sun and burn, but Frankie wouldn't let him because he's special. And Frankie tells him that he needs a forever home as well. But then again, what he does, Steve, and he's been doing this a lot lately, it's kind of pissing me off. He keeps kicking Cass in the face. He tells him that he's going to love Bensonhurst. He locks the door to the cell and he walks away cackling. And then we get the Preacher title card and all the intro music and all that. So what are your thoughts on Frankie so far?
I think he was a great casting. I think the first 2 episodes, they might have wanted to spread that throughout. I think it would have been better to kind of been like, hey, because I don't think they're going to be able to give him an arc. The book, he has an arc. Now they're in one season and they got 7 episodes left. Do you want to spend that much time on him? No, of course you don't.
I think that it's going to come back around only in the sense that Cassidy still has to make do on his promise to him. I don't know where the face cream ties into it all, but I think that that's the next time that we'll see it again, because I have a feeling that Frankie's going to be a eunuch.
He will totally be a eunuch. I think the face cream is a good method of saying, why are you doing this foreskin thing except for torture? Maybe it's just like, we're not just torturing him, we're also making this.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. That's why we're just putting him through this unimaginable torture over and over and over again. I imagine that's one way of dealing with that. Because otherwise you're like, why are you just doing that time and time again? But also, Frankie seems like the type, I thought he'd be like dismembering Cassidy. And he's not.
Eternal youth is big business, dude.
But you could still cut off his legs and arms. Cassidy wouldn't die. You would just torture him. Because that's what Frankie is.
It's a lot of extra work.
I mean, not if you're teaching kids how to do it.
This is true.
He's teaching kids how to do, here's how you dismember somebody. And they're not doing that. Maybe they're thinking that is a bridge too far.
Seems to me like the education system at Grail University has failed, Steve.
I think so. I bet you their parking sucks too.
Yeah, it's not making good use of tax dollars, I'll tell you that much. When we get back to it, folks, we see the Saint of Killers and Eugene walking single-filed down this hot-ass road, and the sun's beating down on them, and I'm like, where are they? But then you know what, Steve? It tells me because Texas flashes right across the screen. Eugene, who's really not having fun walking around, asks the Saint, he's like, do your feet hurt? My feet hurt. And of course, the Saint's not answering him. And he asks the Saint of Killers again if he can hear Jesse every time he uses the word, but still nothing. But Eugene's like this kid in the back seat, and he's very persistent about it. So he's trying to, get something out of him. And he's suggesting maybe that they drive because he's got his learner permit. It'd be a hell of a lot faster and his feet wouldn't hurt. At that moment, a car approaches, and Eugene suggests that maybe they hitchhike. But when the woman driving the car drives up, she sees him and she yells, freak, and tells him to go back to the circus, which is really fucked up when you think about it, folks. Don't do that.
That's super jacked up, G.
So as this lady's driving off, leaving them literally in the dust, Eugene decides that maybe the situation is part of God's plan. But the Saint of Killers tells him that God is dead. Eugene also accepts that as part of God's plan, as everything's part of God's plan, Steve. From there, we jump to Jesse. Yeah, everything is, right? Every single thing.
I give them this place props, or these writers props, because they did the whole dinosaur thing. That simple dinosaur narrative is such a funny thought experiment. They set up a thing where God has done a bunch of oops, my bad, oops, my bad, oops, my bad, like a bunch of those. So whenever someone says it's part of God's plan, the watcher, the viewer is now like, that's funny.
Right. The plan that could just go awry any second as they get wiped off the face of the earth.
Exactly. I was like, that is so funny. It's a great job by the writers.
I wish they did more of that. I know we don't have a lot of time now, but I love those retro looking scenes with all the stop motion and that kind of like 1960s science fiction look about it.
Yes.
So good.
And just show when did God realize he's fallible. But you can't do that. You need 11 seasons because it would be a whole 4 episodes of him realizing, oh, I made a mistake. Wait a minute. If I made a mistake, does that mean I'm not God? Wait a minute. Like that would be such a fun thing. But you can't. You have you don't have the season. So what they're doing now is very smart.
It would have been nice though to have an episode completely dedicated to God.
Oh yeah.
Just to have all this worked out, just to see him make these mistakes and question himself and grow from it or not grow from it. You know, I think it would have been really cool.
Exactly. And see where he was in all these, like when the thing happened with Saint of Killers, kind of show it from God's point of view where he's just like, he would be a good killer. I'm going to have to do something to get him there though.
Right.
And this is going to be mean, but what are you going to do? They're just ants. Let's just kill them all. You know what I'm saying? Like he doesn't care.
He does have that workshop, so maybe we'll get a little bit of that, but I think that unfortunately we're not going to get what we're asking for here.
Yes, true. Oh, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, I didn't get to say it. When Saint of Killers came on screen, as normal, I just get excited. I get giddy.
I thought you maybe lost allegiance, man. I didn't think you were really into the Saint anymore.
Like he doesn't need to do anything because in the comic, all he does is look brooding. It's just such a good casting. Everything's so well done. Love Saint of Killers.
What do you think of the pairing with him and Eugene?
It's fine, but I'm telling you right now, the Saint, as we all know, all the fans know, he does not suffer insolence. And so I don't know how he would stomach Eugene.
Yeah, you figured he would have like taken him out miles back, days ago.
Exactly. A long time ago. But I guess he sees it as he's a great means to an end. Or are they trying to make Saint have a heart?
Maybe. Shows compassion for Eugene?
Yes, maybe.
You think he's going to give him a hug at some point?
They better not.
I could see Eugene going for a hug. I really could.
He will go for a hug, but for what happened to his family took away any of that, let me pat you on the back from a hug. It's gone. He didn't have it. That's why he was able to become the Saint of Killer. So if they make it so that Eugene hugs him and he gives him a pat on the back, like Saint gives him a pat on the back, I'll be like, oh, that's not him. Would it be a disappointment for you at all? Or you'd be like, oh.
I don't know, man. All bets are off. I'm like, go for it.
Make him a softie.
I hope they don't do that, but I could see them trying to work some kind of comedy into Eugene giving him a hug. We'll see. So when we get back to it, Jesse is actually seated on this airplane by himself and he's having a cigarette. If you notice, his knuckles are all bloodied up. And this is where he thinks about where, I don't know if you remember on the last episode, Steve, but we saw the door to the Desaad House of Entertainment open. And it was kind of like, we were like, why? Why is it open? It seemed like something had already happened. I don't know if you recall that. Yeah, so this is where Jesse actually thinks back to that and we do find out what happens.
Yeah, these weird time jumps. I was like, what in the world? But once you catch it, you catch it.
Right. Like once you get the rhythm of things, you're okay. But at first I was super confused. Like I said, when I watched the first couple of episodes, I'm like, what the hell is going on here? But when you write notes, you start figuring it all out. Or if you just have a brain in your head like you do, Steve, you figure it out. Me, I had to write notes.
Oh, stop it.
We see the exterior of the Desaad house and Middle East flashes onto the screen.
Middle East. I'm like, okay, they just decided we're not going to do Texas business. It's just generally here.
Yeah, they're going old school like when they used to call Russia the USSR.
Exactly. The Soviet Union.
In the form of a memory, we see that boy that was in the window with Jesus Desaad, and Jesse rings the doorbell several times. So when the door finally opens, Steve, things get a little bit weird because he's greeted by a group of masked and feathered and furry individuals. And right off the bat, rudely, some lady just like, she's carrying a scepter. Anyone that carries a scepter, you got to be a little bit leery of, you know what I mean? She looks like she's out of the fucking Power Rangers or something like that. And she blows this puff of smoke into Jesse's face right as he's entering. Super, super rude. This immediately puts him into a haze. And as he's walking through the house, he's seeing all these people that are dressed up in all these different types of, outfits that obviously are bringing some type of sexual pleasure. There's this one chick that's wrapped up entirely in plastic wrap. There's furries all around. They have those eyes wide shut masks on and shit. There's a whole lot of sexual deviance going on in this room.
Here's what I don't like. Got a bunch of animals in there.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up in just a second.
Them furries, they looked real spooky to me. I did not like this at all. There's one specifically like a lion or something. And I was like, nope.
You know what I thought was going to get you, and we're jumping ahead a little bit, but I thought it was going to be those kangaroo people, the ones at the top of the stairs.
Oh, those got me too.
That even got me, and I don't usually trip on stuff like that. But if I was walking in the dark, or if I was walking up some stairs and I saw two people dressed in kangaroo masks and robes staring at me and moving at the same time, I'm out.
That would be my Halloween. That would be my Halloween Horror Nights. If you were just like, ready, Steve? Furry convention, I'd be like, welp. This is my horror night.
Why did you bring me here, Dad?
People like pawing on me. Oh, it's over.
Oh, forget about it.
I would probably have to be put into wherever Cassidy is.
They're just purring and rubbing up against you.
Oh, dude, I'm out. Out, bro. On the Greyhound. Holla.
Moans, whiplashes, and laughter can be heard throughout this house. And all of a sudden, Jesse hears, "Can I help you?" He turns and he sees Jesus Desaad walking down the stairs to greet him. Now, again, since they put Jesus Desaad in this, he looks pretty good. We don't really get a chance to get to really know how he works, but he looks fantastic. Yeah, exactly.
I got a question. You just blew my mind right here, Dan.
Sure.
You can hear whiplashes and you can get whiplash.
This is true.
Why did they use the same random word for two totally different things?
If you want to break it down, I'm thinking.
Please.
One would think that one actually lashes a whip, right? It has that snap back.
Whiplash,
right?
Yes.
Right. Therefore, when you're in an accident and your head snaps like a whip, you have whiplash.
You are a smart man.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that big of a deal, Steve, but I thought that I would at least shed some light on it for you.
I appreciate that. That's why you are who you are.
Anytime, sir. I'm here for you. So Desaad is like, "Oh my, a preacher." And Jesse asks him about the boy. That's how he said it.
Why waste? Anyway, go on.
What? What were you going to say?
If you're going to cast him so wonderfully, why only have him in the episode? Would you say he gets a minute of screen time?
Maybe, yeah. But what do you want him to do? Like, you want him coming in hot fucking a chicken or something like that? And yes, that stuff happens.
But he has no screen time at all in the whole. I was like, if you're going to cast him that well, I would love to see more of this because it was too perfect of a casting.
How do you think they casted him? Is like just tall, skinny white dude? Pasty?
I don't think that was even. I think it was more than that because to get him, either someone saw him somewhere on some show or they just had a mass casting and got the I mean, he could have been. He was him. When he walked down those stairs, I said, "Oh my God, that is him."
Yeah, he looked good. Jesse asked him about the boy upstairs and says that, he seemed pretty scared when he was looking at him in the window. And Desaad replies, "Nothing more deliciously winsome than a fearful child, which is why he's booked for the week." Sick bastard. Jesse smiles and says, "I was hoping you weren't going to say something like that." And he punches Desaad. Desaad goes down.
The only reason he did that is because he really legit thinks that he's doing something to this kid. And at the end, I was like, oh, they went a different direction with it. But anyway, let's move forward. I don't want to ruin it.
Big time. So as Desaad hits the floor, the room starts pulsating. And it's not really pulsating, but Jesse's high as fuck because he had that stuff blown into his face. He starts making his way up the stairs. He turns around. He says, "And you did," meaning he did say something gross like that. So this place is like completely full of colorful characters. And as Jesse's walking up the stairs, there's this woman. She's kind of wearing like a sexy bird cage on her head. If bird cage can't be sexy, I don't know. I guess she felt sexy, and that's the important part. He then passes the people that I were just talking about a little bit ago, Steve, and it's that couple wearing the kangaroo masks and gowns. I wasn't having it. I didn't like it at all.
Look, this is not my thing. I think it set an amazing tone. I was like, Jesse, kill everyone.
Yeah, it sends a message. Jesse, kill every last fucking person in that house. And then burn it to the ground.
Dude.
We don't really get to see what he sees at the top of the stairs just yet. We're actually treated to another section of Masada that we haven't really seen just yet, and that's the infirmary. Tulip's being treated there. When she opens her eyes, she turns to see a dead man that Tulip's probably responsible for killing, because remember, she did that whole killer car thing last episode where she was spinning around and people were dying left and right and whatnot. Yep. So I don't know if she's feeling bad or not, but she does see the people that are standing over him, and they're obviously mourning this person's death. Mm-hmm. She doesn't notice, but there's a doctor sitting beside her, and he tells her, "I know it's not Christian of me, but I hope they hang that preacher when they catch him." He tells her everything checks out and that she's going to be okay, save for, like I say, a few cuts and scrapes and whatnot, but there's no broken bones or hemorrhaging.
Hey, Doc. You've touched my shoulder twice now, and I'm fine.
I think you need to just relax. Lie back down.
I said don't touch me.
Here's my issue. The Grail is a tight-knit community. Not tight-knit, but they one would have to think that they have at least some stuff together.
Of course.
Wouldn't you know that this person is not like anyone else in this crew?
Yeah, you figured like you know your people, like you're saying. You get to see Jerry every morning when you're clocking in for work, right? You go over to the coffee place. You see Sarah over there serving coffee. You know the people that you see every day. She's walking around, total stranger. No one's noticing a thing.
Come on, dude.
Suspension of disbelief, Steve.
I'm willing to, that's all I have to do, because when she's like, I told you not to put your hand on me and you did it again. Off the jump, he'd be like, you don't belong here. Who are you?
Right. She has like a Texas accent.
Yes, everything is wrong.
Everything's out of place.
Yes.
So as we heard, a scuffle begins, and from Tulip's bed, she's taking out the doctor and 3 orderlies, like only she can do. Lots of kicks to the faces and face bashing with metal trays and stuff like that. Total Tulip style. But just as she's getting the upper hand, this nurse just pops up from nowhere, basically, and sticks her with a needle and injects her with this sedative. So she starts getting all foggy, and she's like, nobody touches me, and boom, she passes out.
Yes.
From there, we get another flashback. And this time it's from the last episode. I like the way that they did this because it's showing that Cassidy's lamenting all this that's going on. We see Frankie shoot Cass. The wound closes. Frankie tells him how he's like the guys that he's seen before, the guys that he's worked with before. And, you know, they always come back, Steve, because they think they, quote unquote, Steve, deserve it. Let's pause. Let's pause for a second here. Why did he say deserve it? He was doing so well.
I'm not that crazy on the whole thing. I'm like, whatever.
But he went with a 1930s.
Yeah. Why I oughta sort of thing.
OI instead of an ER sound.
Yeah.
It's like on the Little Rascals when they had Butch and Wham. Hey, Wham. You know?
Yeah. I don't know why they went. I think they're just being cartoonish pretty much.
Well, this definitely looks more like a comic book. And it's not that big of a deal. I mean, I'm making more out of it than it really was. But it did kind of take me out of it like, deserve? Really? Even Gail was like, deserve, huh? Okay, whatever.
Very interesting. Yes,
yeah.
I agree.
Cassidy snaps out of this memory, and he's laying down on the floor of his cell. He looks up and he sees the Archangel, who, again, looks like a drunk Daniel Craig. He really does to me, with a mohawk. The Archangel's talking to him, and he's trying to get like a plot going with him. He wants to plot with Cassidy because they want to get revenge on Frankie. He says he's a sick, sadistic, and cruel person, even by Brooklyn standards.
Well, look, I'll have a plan better.
So Cassidy clearly isn't feeling the energy that the Archangel has, Steve. He's not in a good spot right now.
He doesn't feel the energy of anyone right now.
No. He
wants to be alone.
There is something bothering him, and I think we're going to find out what it is shortly.
Yes, we will.
We cut over to the Santa Killers and Eugene again, who are still walking. Eugene sees a sign for food about a mile away and asks the Santa Killers if he ever gets hungry. When he doesn't answer, though, Eugene stops walking in protest, and he actually gets him to turn around. He tells him, I'm hungry. And the next shot is a truck driving off and revealing this diner, this roadside diner. So Eugene's finally going to get something to eat. And he orders a chicken fried steak, well done, with a side of mashed potatoes and gravy, all blended together, of course. Freaking, you know what? Actually, is it weird that it doesn't sound that bad to me? I know you don't eat meat. I know you don't
it
eat meat,
sounds
but I'm just saying.
horrific, dude. Not even just the meat. It just sounds gross to slurp it. Ugh.
Well, I actually had to do that before. I had my jaw broken for orthodontia purposes.
I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, it
You
sucked.
just said something very shocking to me, and I just reacted.
I lost 25 pounds on this.
Jeez Louise, dude.
Yeah, it was great. I needed to anyway. I was getting kind of fat. But I used to get these meals and you'd have to have them blended or otherwise you're drinking like Ensure all the time. So I've had things like this before, blended, really pureed and nasty, slurped through a straw. Yeah, you learn something new every day, right?
But you didn't blend meat.
Yeah.
Dan.
I can't remember like every meal I ever had, but I used to go to, you know what, I'm going to give a plug, Steve, because it's wonderful. Folks, if you ever get your jaw broken, head on over to P.F. Chang's. They've got wonderful hot and sour soup, which my lovely wife blended for me every day. I had a lot of hot and sour soup, dude.
Aww.
That's love, man. But anyway, that's another story. So at the table, the saint tries to order some whiskey, and the waitress gets a little bit of attitude with him. She tells him that they don't have any whiskey. He just kind of like, and he grips the side of the table really hard. Then she starts getting a little funky with him. She tells him that this is a family establishment, and chicken-made shakes are one thing, but if he wants whiskey, they're going to have to keep on moving. But, you know, Eugene, being the diplomat, goes for a compromise, and he suggests to the saint, how about a turtle pie? Have you ever had a turtle pie?
No, have you?
No, I don't even know what they are, but they sounded heavenly.
How does that possibly sound heavenly to you?
It just sounds good. I don't know why. I'm like, if it was actual turtle in a pie, that would not sound good. But I'm thinking,
I have a feeling that's what it is, G.
no, I don't think so. I'm thinking it's like, you know, like a moon pie or something like that.
Maybe.
I'm going to tell you right now. Now, see, Steve, you're wrong. You're real wrong right now. A turtle pie is a smooth caramel filling infused with rich caramel. So it's a caramel filling infused with rich caramel, topped with chocolate, pecans, whipped creme rosettes, and Steve, it's all on a fresh from the oven chocolate cookie crumb crust. It's a real showstopper. What do you think about that?
You know what? That does actually sound quite delightful.
Yeah, a nice cup of coffee with it or something like that. You got yourself a nice little dessert.
Wow.
Turtle pies, ladies and gentlemen, check them out. Eugene agrees with this because he tells him, they're delicious. Better than whiskey, I bet. The saint actually goes for the turtle pie. I wish I would have seen him eating it and enjoying it, but we didn't get that. While this is going on across the diner, there is this dude sitting there at the counter, basically, and he's got this red hat on. Looks a little bit familiar, I say. We'll get to that in just a bit. Eugene asks the saint how he knows Jesse, and the saint tells him that Jesse sent him to hell. Eugene asks the saint if he's ever going to hurt Jesse. The saint tells him, someone comes along, ruins your life, kills your family, sends you to hell. In my book, an apology don't beat a bullet to the brain. Now, he said kills your family, Steve. Mm-hmm. So is he just down to kill any preacher? Because Jesse wasn't alive when his family died. So is he comparing him to that preacher in Ratwater? Do you think that's so? Is he just got like a thing for preachers?
I think he's after, I don't know, like, because remember, he wants to kill God. I don't know if they're changing the story or what. Like, at this point, why does he still want to kill Jesse?
I'm just thinking that he's associating him with any preacher, particularly that preacher in Ratwater.
It might be, because like at this point, there's no reason. He's not answering to anybody. He doesn't have to take Jesse back to hell. Why is he after him still? The only reason would be what you're saying, which doesn't make sense.
Yeah, well, he left hell with a vengeance. Like he was going to go get Jesse Custer. Didn't Hitler send him out to get him?
Yeah, but he didn't have to listen to Hitler.
That's true. But you know what? He's a man of his word, I guess. It's hard to find good help like that these days, Steve.
Here's the thing. I don't think they're definitely saying, just don't dig into the weeds and accept our story. That's what we're asking you to do. But yeah, you're right. It makes no sense.
So Eugene's really sold on this apology thing, and he's trying to like explain it to him in more depth. And he's like, it's not just any apology. It's got to be sincere. And the saint's like, we'll see what God's plan is for that. At this point, Eugene feels that rumble in your tummy that you get after eating turtle pies and blended shakes.
At the Blackbeard Diner.
Yeah, you know, you never, don't trust them diners, man. Don't trust them roadside diners. It'll ruin your night, I'm telling you.
It'll ruin a concert.
I speak from experience. Roadside diner cost me like, I don't know, I spent $500 on Billy Joel tickets, and I got to see about 2/3 of the show, maybe.
And see, if the house would have been there, your son would have been healed that second.
You know what? You've got to stop buying into this Hugh Laurie. He's not real. He's not real, Steve.
He'll be like, oh, did you have your window down when you're driving? Yeah. Oh, in that side of town, there is this parasite that happens to he would have absolutely known what was wrong with your son. That's your bad, homie.
Then he's like, pardon me while I swallow 9 Vicodin.
But yeah, are we to believe that? Because I know he asked Say's a Killer. He's like, "Do you use the restroom?"
He's like, "Do you go potty? I gotta go potty."
Dude, how is Say's a Killer's dealing with this guy?
I don't know. I like it that he went with potty though. Because he's what, 16, 17 years old, still using potty. I like it.
It's
old school.
Person I know that says potty.
Like for real?
Yeah.
Female?
My belle, yeah.
We're okay because it's cute that way. When a 16-year-old male says he's got to go potty, it's a little creepy,
That's
right?
True. Yeah, grown women do not like to be like, I got to go pee. They don't like saying that.
Would it be weird if she's like, I got to go take a smash real quick, Steve? I'll be right back.
So I'll be like, yo, listen. Easy.
What if she walked out and she's like, do you have any matches?
Oh, that would be so fun. I would think it was funny. Because still in my brain, she doesn't do that.
Everybody poops, Steve. There's a book about it.
That's what I hear. That's what there is, isn't there?
So Eugene excuses himself to go potty, as he calls it, Steve, and then the scene cuts. And now we're back with the Archangel, who's still rambling on to Cassidy. If Cassidy's listening, I don't know. But he asks him if he's ever seen the movie The Hoosiers.
That is weird. We were just talking about that. It's very strange.
What I liked about this, though, is that the Archangel doesn't just talk about it. He actually talks Hoosiers.
So, Bensonhurst. Named after Egbert himself. Great man. If you like bastards. Cannoli City.
Oh, a jewel of 18th Avenue.
I can smell the Italians already. And the Chinamen. We're one lucky dog.
Bensonhurst sucks.
Then why are we going?
Because they've got nowhere else to go. Nowhere else they deserve to go.
I'm sensing backstory.
I love in this scene how the Archangel just sees the meta of all of it and is like, I'm sensing a backstory. I thought that was hilarious, man.
I think he's just a great ping pong for Cassidy right now. That's all. Right now. He's going to be better later, but right now I'm like, if I'm going to be honest, people, you're going to hate me. When it goes to Cassidy's story, I kind of just don't even want to do that right now.
Really?
It's not that interesting to me.
I'm going to have to disagree with you on this one, and here's the reason why. This is something that we have been talking about for 3 seasons. Now, we're not getting it in the way that we should get it to where it actually fits into the story, but I think that it's important that they did take the time to give us this.
Oh, no, I'm saying up until this point. I'm saying because they go into a backstory, but up until this point, there's nothing. Like, I'm like, what are we doing with Cassidy?
You're talking about on this episode?
No, I'm talking about in general. Like since he's been captured, I'm like, okay, they're building, they're doing. I think that I realized that when they kept on going back to him in his cell and stuff, I kind of got like, okay, I could do without this.
I guess it's all building up to this part.
That's right? What I'm saying. Like when they did what's about to happen, I'm like, there we go. Now we're talking. But I just could have done it without the, I think since we're on if there were more seasons to go, I would be looking at this totally different. But since this is it, I'm kind of like, come on. I don't need any scenes with him in the cell. Cassidy can't be Cassidy in a cell.
I feel you. It's like you're on a trip. You're trying to get there. You don't want to stop off at every roadside fruit
Exactly.
stand.
Be like, look, I get what you're doing, but can we get some Cassidy in this last season? Like a good Cassidy. That's all.
Well, I happen to think that this is Cassidy right now, man, so I'm going to get into this here because I, for one, was actually very excited when this happened. We get this flashback to Ireland in 1916, and we finally get our Cassidy backstory. Now, I didn't really, test the winds of Twitter last night because I didn't watch this until a little bit later, so I missed all the live tweets. I have no idea if people were, super excited about this or not, but I, for one, was actually very excited because I've been waiting to see this for a very long time. It starts off, we get this exterior of this old Irish cottage, and inside we have Cassidy, but not only is he Cassidy, he's actually Pontius Cassidy. And he's trying to get ready because he's heading off to war. And all his little younger, I don't know if they're cousins or brother and sisters, because it seems like there's a whole bunch of people in this house. It's like the buckets in Willy Wonka. Like all these people are all up in this house. And Pontius's uncle, a preacher himself, tells him that he's all grown up now and the Brotherhood is counting on him. Send those British wankers home, he says. And Cassidy lets his uncle know that he's going to do just that. He's going to make the family proud. Not only is he going to make the family proud, Steve, he's going to make all of Ireland as well. That's how confident he is. That's a lot of shit talking, if you ask me.
This is crap talk from someone who's never seen war yet. That's all
he's scared. He's naive.
Yeah.
Did you notice Cass's uncle had like this old school hearing aid? Remember those things? What'd you say?
Yep.
I loved it.
Had that
Looks
big
like
old ram's horn thing.
Looks like the end of a trumpet.
Yeah.
Those are dope, man. I want one of those. I would just rock with it all the time. Even if I heard you correctly, I'd be like, what?
Huh?
I would just, I'd make you repeat yourself and it would be great. I'm going to find one. If anyone has one, please contact us at askthewordpodcast@gmail.com. We do have a P.O. box. I would love to get that off of you.
Oh, totally. Because, I mean, Dan would love to just put one random old 100-year-old earwax into his ear.
Well, I would clean it, Steve.
Uh-huh. That'll work.
This is coming from a guy that cleans off his forks with spit. That's another story for another time.
It's not a 100-year-old fork.
Steve Hudson, ladies and gentlemen.
People that have eaten on it 100 years ago.
Hey, that shit breaks down. If it's just sitting somewhere in like an antique shop or something like that, all that wax is falling off by this point. It's perfectly fine.
I'm going to ask House about that.
So a couple of seasons ago, I believe it was Cass that was talking to, I want to say it was Denise, his son, about Granny B. So we actually get to see Granny B this time. She tells Cass that she's going to keep his Easter supper warm, and Cass is like, if Da don't eat it first. And the whole family's there, man. Like, everyone's there. They're all getting ready to send him off. Now, this guy actually shows up in the comic as well. Francis's friend Billy arrives, and they head off for war.
They really condensed this story, and I think they do it really well. It was a long, series in the comic of what happened in this situation.
If I had my way, I would have been good. Like, if we had more seasons, I would have actually been very good with this just being one whole episode in itself.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind 2 episodes, this being most of it. And him trying to figure out how to navigate through this, through the century he's been alive and up to meeting Preacher. I would have loved those 2 episodes. Navigating this new life he's leading. And they might do it, G. In the next episode, let me shut up. They might do it and just say, hey, we're going to show you what happened after what you're about to talk about into meeting Preacher. Who knows?
You know what? This is true because we're kind of jumping ahead a little bit, but it does show him just take off when he's watching Grammy B in the window. Yes. And he takes off because he knows that he can never go home again. We know where he heads. Yes. So it is very possible.
I would love that.
I'll take another 10 minutes. Why the hell not?
And then how he meets that friend that he kind of screws over, that girl. They're not going to do that storyline.
Nah, too much time.
I couldn't deal with it. I could not deal with that. I'd be like, oh, you are the worst. Anyway.
You're talking about the one where Jesse finds her on the bench years later?
Yes, dude.
Yeah, that's a good story.
That's, okay, side note. People, read the comic. I promise you, if you like the show, for those who have not read the comic, do yourself a favor.
It's our weekly suggestion to you.
Yes, dude. I might reread it again.
Oh, you got to, man.
Done.
So getting back to where we were, Pontius and Billy both hit the road, and they're off to fight a war. And it cuts just to that. They're now smack dab in the middle of the Easter Rebellion. And you see this squad of Irish soldiers arrive with Cass and Billy in tow. And their leader's getting all hyped up. You know what I mean? He's trying to get them amped for this fight. And he tells them that it's time to strike a blow to their oppressor and proclaim an Irish republic. He tells them that their deaths will cause their names to live on with the people. And their blood will flow in buckets to quench the thirst with justice. I don't think that's really a hype up myself. Maybe I'm selfish. I don't really need my name out there.
No.
Once I'm off this earth, it doesn't matter to me, you know what I mean? And having my blood flowing in buckets, I don't think that's a really good pep talk. He gives a pep talk much like Butcher does with the Spice Girls.
That's so funny.
Watch The Boys on Amazon, ladies and gentlemen. So Pontius is trying to keep Billy calm and telling him that the squad leader is just being inspirational. Again, I don't know about that, but it's enough to actually kind of calm Billy down.
Yes.
Now, here's the thing. He's like, okay, well, let's go ahead and do this. You know, like he gets him ready to fight. And they don't even make it out of their shelter before this mortar blast throws them both back, severing Billy's foot off at the ankle. So it's not a good start. Off to a bad start.
How did it sever Billy's foot off when dude was in front?
That's a very good question, Steve. I don't know. I could say maybe it was because Cass was a vampire, but he wasn't yet, so I don't know.
Okay, cool.
But he could have blown off his foot anyway, but his just would have grown back.
Had he been a vampire.
That's true, but he's not. So this is a kind of an unnecessary
He
conversation.
was almost unscathed.
He just looked a little shocked, basically.
Exactly, that's it. I'm
Like,
like,
what the
wait a
hell?
minute, what just happened?
Yeah.
They're
And
just
he
like,
cowers, by the way. He actually goes and he hides.
yes, because now he's seen war. Now he's seen a piece of it. Yes.
And he's freaking out to the point where he cowers in fear and he goes and he hides off in the distance. He doesn't even get Billy. I don't know if he really had the time to. I guess in a case like that, it's self-preservation. I mean, Billy's already missing a foot. He can't really keep up with him, right? So he just goes and he hides behind these barrels.
Yes.
At which point, these British soldiers arrive and they brutally kill Billy by putting a bayonet into his back, stabbing in the back. Prontius is watching the whole thing. Now, later that night, of course, we see Prontius and he's walking down this road and he looks like he can take cover at any time. You know what I mean? He knows that he has to hide. And he does so. He avoids some British soldiers by hiding in the bushes. And one of the soldiers says something like, those Irish scum are going to pay for interrupting my Easter whoring. What a bastard. Easter whoring. I was going to ask you, Steve, if you've ever done that, but I have a feeling you have not.
Of course not.
Do you know anyone that likes to Easter whore?
Let me
Like,
think.
is it a time to get really whorish on Easter? I've never really looked at it that way before.
I've never even heard the term. I think they made it up for Preacher. Call it a hunch.
I don't know. I mean, some people like to have fun on their spring breaks, and I'm thinking that's what this guy was missing.
That would make total sense. Also, this really does give me a sense of why Cassidy is so not wanting Preacher to save him, because he's already chickened out so many years before. He wants to be the savior because he's making up for this time that he totally chickened out. He doesn't want Preacher to come saving him. He's like, I'm tough too. So I have a feeling he spent the last 100 years trying to prove what kind of man he is. He's never going to do it.
To give Frankie a little bit of credit, he did kind of call it and says that maybe he feels that he deserves this.
Yes. Yes.
He doesn't need the easy way out, you know?
No.
So once those soldiers are gone, Cassidy looks down and he notices that he's like moved himself into a swamp. And I believe he's either standing in mud or quicksand. What'd you get? Did you get an impression of quicksand or mud?
I got mud.
Okay, we'll go with mud. And you hear this bubbling noise, and then, folks, it happens. We actually see the creature that created Cassidy. It jumps out of the water, pulls him under, and this struggle ensues. Until Cass eventually gets free and he makes his way to the surface. But before he can get away, he gets onto the bank of the swamp, I guess you could call it. And before he can really even fully stand up, this thing jumps back at him and pulls him back under the water, sinking its teeth into its neck, and creates themselves a Cassidy. And we see Cassidy's perspective as he's sinking underwater and everything goes black.
Such an amazing shot.
I thought this was a great scene, man. For the time that they had, I thought they did a really good job with it. And it was nice. I'm really glad they included it. I would have been pissed if we didn't see this.
I love that they just made it a monster. They didn't make it some beautiful vampire. They went to the comic and they're like, no, we're going to make this a beast. This is a beast of a vampire.
Yeah, it would have been kind of whack if they just had like some human looking vampire there. Like it needed to be that murky creature. So good job, Preacher.
I think it was very well done. I loved this scene. Absolutely loved it.
Like I was saying before, right after the scene, we see Grammy B and she's staring out her window and she's looking out into the night, and Prontius, who's watching in the shadows, and he knows that he can never go home. So he turns and he walks away, and he's to spend his life in eternity, basically.
Yeah. Just another Irishman feeling sorry for himself.
No. Not at all. We were touched. So fare thee well, my own true love. When I return united we will be. It's not the leaving of Liverpool that grieves me, but my darling, when I think of thee.
The angels that they want to know thee.
Steve, what I liked about this last scene, I probably should have like fixated on the stuff where it was Cassidy being really, emotional and everything. But I loved that the Archangel was like, says he was moved by the whole thing. And then he does that little fart. And then that feather just falls. And we watch this feather fall beautifully to the floor.
Yeah, it was funny. It was funny.
That's the thing, is that it actually comes back a little bit later. So they did this beautiful shot of this fart feather, but it comes back later on, and we'll talk about it.
It was almost a catharsis for it's almost like he got something out that he needed to get out.
I would say so. You ever held one of those bad boys in?
Gross. Like, I was Cassidy finally released the story, and then he said, because as you're going to tell later, Cassidy, through his eyes at least, looks like he's back. But we'll talk about that scene later. But when I saw his eyes, I'm like, oh, wait a minute. This looks like Cassidy again.
The man is back.
Yes, but anyway.
He had a lot on his mind. It feels better to get things off your chest, right?
Yes, totally.
So now we're back in the Middle East again, and we're at the Holy Bar in Grail, Steve. Featherstone kicks in the door to Jesse and Tulip's room, and she's searching the place for clues. All she finds, though, is this empty pack of cigarettes until she opens up their wardrobe and she finds this mannequin head, the kind that holds wigs, and that's the one that held Tulip's blonde wig. She looks at it and she smiles. And then the very next shot, we see Jesse writing a letter to Tulip.
Because when you write it down, it's kind of forever. And the forever thing I wanted to say to you is that I think you're a stupid, cheating, lying bitch.
Psych! Tulip wakes up from a dream. It really wasn't that at all. And she realizes that she's still in the infirmary, and now she's been restrained with leather straps. The doctor that's been watching over her goes, bad dreams? And Tulip asks him if he's ever seen the movie where the girl's head spins around. He's like, The Exorcist? She says, yeah, and makes the comparison to that girl who was held down by straps as well. But the doctor tells her that she was possessed by a demon. There's a difference, But Tulip reminds him that it still didn't end well for the priest who got thrown out the window. The doc simply says he's following policy. And for a head trauma, psych evaluation is the way to go with that. Tulip tells him that they didn't get into the grill to follow policy. But instead, they're going to run things, man. They're going to get their way and beat down the unbelievers. But the doc's like, look, I just joined up to help people, like especially people in pain. So she's obviously talking to the wrong person. She realizes that she's not getting anywhere with this guy. And then she just submits to the Rorschach test. We're now back at Jesus Desade's, and Jesse, who is still high as fuck off of the smoke that was blown into his face, he's walking down this long hallway, and you hear moans and screams and laughters and possibly a little bit of whiplashing. Steve, I don't know if they traveled upstairs or not. I know it's downstairs. I don't know if they have one upstairs. Jesse opens a door, and he finds that little boy who was looking at him from the window, and he's all dressed up in this like little good ship lollipop suit. And there's a man taking pictures of him sitting on a bicycle, much like Steve. Did you ever see Different Strokes? Do you remember the pedophile episode?
I did.
Do you remember when Arnold and his friend were taking pictures from the guy that owned the bike shop?
Sure did.
That was a horrible thing, man. And that was when I just realized that the world was a fucked up place. Different Strokes, ladies and gentlemen. That is a word podcast pick of the week. Check it out. Because
Jesus.
I wish I knew the episode and season, I would say it. Jesse tells this kid it's time to get out of here. And the man that's taking pictures gets up. He takes his head out from underneath that old school camera that he has. And he says, but my hour isn't up yet. Jesse tells him, yeah, it is, and punches him out. And the boy ends up giving Jesse back his boots. And I think he gave him his wallet, too, because neither one of them really did anything for him. The wallet's empty, and the boots didn't fit. Jesse asks him if he's okay, and the boy tells him, you're the one that looks jacked.
True.
Jesse actually agrees with that and tells him that some crazy witch had blown smoke into his face. So he's trying to get the boy to leave, but the boy says he's good. And Jesse tells him, no, you're not good. You're just a kid. The boy says, yeah, a kid making $35 an hour in a third world country. Trust me, bro. You're the one with the problem. It's a good point. But anyway, he still leaves with them. And they make to leave. And when Jesse opens up the door, everyone in that house is waiting for them outside of this door. And the kid's like, told you had a problem. And this is where we get a really, really crazy fight scene. Jesse tells him to stay there. And he closes the door. And they start getting down. Now, everybody in this house has like a mask on or a furry outfit or something. So Jesse then proceeds to fight with gimps and kangaroo people and kabuki people and furries. And it's just this big ass scuffle. During the scuffle, he even gets hit with a double-fisted dildo. I mean, this thing is like huge. And it flies through the air and it hits him with this little bit of a squeak. I'm not going to sit and break down this whole fight because quite honestly, I want your opinion on this, Steve. Do you think that fight went on just a little bit too long?
I think here's what I'll say. It was a magnificent fight.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But halfway through, I was like, okay, for the man who has the word at his, do you really want to waste? Okay,
This is true. Why didn't he just tell them all to stop?
As simple as that. And especially since you're in this hurry, right? You're in this amazing hurry. But you would rather, and now are we to assume that he loves fighting so much that he'll put God on the back burner? No. If he's in a hurry, he'll be like, I don't have time for this. Everybody sit down and just leave.
He's also trying to transport a small child out of this house.
Dude. And so do you think shooting the place up is the smartest thing with a child in the house?
No, I think it's a bad decision if you ask me, Steve.
Call it a hunch, and it comes back to bite him. So I love to see there were a lot of one-shots. It's almost like, ooh, look what we can do. It's that great quote that people use saying, they're like, can we do it? And never thought, should we?
Right.
They're like, look how cool this is. Instead of being like, could we use this time better? Is there a better use? I would have much rather more time been used with Jesus Desaad than this fight.
Totally. I think it went on for probably a minute too long. Like I said, you get 3 songs out of it, and then you see all of the people gather around him and kind of like dogpile on top of him, and then he just knocks them all off like Dick Tracy.
How that happened, I will never understand.
I don't know. One punch, man.
Yeah, and my thing is, at the end, something happens that we'll get to, and when he sees it, he looks shocked. My thing was like, well, yeah, that's what happens when you're blasting everywhere.
Right. So anyway, regarding this fight, it looks like Jesse is fighting with the band Slipknot. There's just so many people in costumes, and
agreed.
Someone pulls out a gun and starts shooting, and then Jesse gets the gun away from him. It could have been her, but it's probably a him, and he ends up shooting a few people. And then he does this cool like Matrix shot with like this dude throws a knife at him and he like does that Matrix thing and it freezes. It's super, super artsy, but it looked really cool and I liked it.
Yes. All the while not using the word.
You've actually made a fantastic point. I can't really debate that. Like he should have just used the word and all would be well. When all is eventually said and done, the final results are still there, except we probably have a lot more dead people. The final clown goes down and Jesse turns his attention back to the boys' room. At that time, he notices that there's a bullet that's torn through the door. Not a good sign, by the way. And he goes back and he finds this boy laying dead with a gunshot to the head. So well done, Jesse. You could have said stop or go away or turn around or fall asleep or anything. And all these people would have been just fine. But instead, there is a room full of dead people, including a little boy. Can't be more than 10 years old. And on top of that, Jesse's now responsible for not only the death of the boy, but of course his dog as well. Jesus Desaad enters the room behind him. He's like, I think you broke my nose. And then Jesse turns and takes a big step away from the comic, grabs him by the head, and proceeds to basically smash his skull onto the base of this fireplace and kills him.
So weird.
As this is happening, the camera pans away from the front door of Desaad's estate, and we hear all these smashing sounds, meaning Desaad's head hitting the stone, if you will. When we get back into that room, we see Jesse's basically stomping the shit out of his head until it actually smashes. And just then, Pilot Steve appears in the doorway, and he's got his pants off, so he was having fun. And he asks what preacher's been asked before, several times, what kind of preacher are you? So we're done with Jesus Desaad, Steve. We kind of already talked about it, but it was thrown in simply for fan service.
Yes.
If you had your way, would you have rather had him in this, or just not had him in it at all?
Had him in it more. Or just don't have him in at all.
I don't know. It's like I'm grateful for it. I just feel like there's so much that could have gone on and it's just a big wasted character, you know?
Totally agreed.
Hope I don't sound negative. It's just the way I feel.
Yeah.
They get into Pilot Steve's car and this dude is like so shaken up by what he saw that he can't even put his keys into the ignition. He can't get the key in. And Jesse uses the word on him.
Now he uses it.
Forget what you saw in there. This calms him down immediately and he wonders where his pants are. Jesse tells him, you don't need them. But he makes to go back inside. You know, naturally he wants his pants. But Jesse again uses the word. You don't need pants. He's like, yeah, we're going to the airport and I don't need pants.
Why use it then?
I don't know. Why would, like, what is going on in this man's head where he feels that's the appropriate time to use it? I don't know. That is such misuse of power, Steve. The comics tell you with great power comes great responsibility.
Bingo.
And he's telling people they don't need pants and that he can smoke in an airport.
Yes. And then he ends up not using it and getting kids killed in the most obvious kids killing way. You shoot a gun randomly in a building where a kid is there, you might hit a kid.
Oh, you mean the old classic shoot the kid in the head in the middle of a whorehouse?
That old thing.
That old chestnut?
Golly.
Talk about tropey. As they're driving away, we see God standing in the window he's been watching them the whole time, and he's dressed in that damn dog suit again. So he was getting his freak on while all this was happening. He didn't even bother to step out and help. He's a coward. God is a coward. And that suit's got to be funky at this point. Like, how do you wash that, right?
Gee.
I don't even want to tell you what it smells like. You can imagine, folks.
Oh, I could. Smells like a teenage boy's room.
Oh, teenage boys something.
Goodness gracious. Those rooms, I don't know what they do. Anyway.
Like, what is that smell? No, I know what you're saying, man. Like, you walk in, like, the whole house smells normal.
Gee, you walk in, you're like, what the crap?
And you're like, yo, can I come in for a second? Oh, my God. And it's like, it's like...
what is that smell, dude? It's like feet and... and the thing is, it's like, it's not dirty clothes everywhere. It's just like, what is in here that smells like that?
It is just straight up teenage funk. That's all it is, man.
And you warned me. You're like, dude.
Yeah, parents out there, can you sympathize with us? Do you know what we're talking about? There is a funky smell in your kid's room right now. I guarantee it. Open that door. They need to put them dishes away, but it ain't the dishes that stinks. It's very weird.
Yes.
Now, Steve, I like this part. This is actually one of my favorite Hairstar moments just because of the awkwardness of it all. When we cut back to Masada, we see the back of Hairstar's head. It's a mess. We see that funky ass ear. And we also see what we assume is Hoover's replacement standing in front of him. And he's reading back some sort of report on Jesse, or maybe like a press statement, something like that. And they have this awkward exchange.
Preacher.
Your linguistic skills are impressive.
Thank you, sir.
Perhaps a bit more hyperbole, something along the lines of evil incarnate.
Very good, sir.
May I ask you something?
That's what I'm here for, sir.
What is your impression of me?
Cunning. Resilient. Pitiless.
Yes, have to be in this line of work.
Of course.
And also attractive as well.
Sir?
Despite my long and colorful history of mutilations, I remain attractive. Beautiful, even, don't you agree?
No. I do not.
I see. Not that beauty is all that important in the overall scheme of things.
No. I have no doubt efficiency, honor, and moral clarity are of greater value. But beauty is beauty.
And ugly isn't.
At this point, Featherstone enters the room and she's still carrying around that mannequin's head. And she looks super proud of herself. And she goes to tell Star about this news.
Important news, mind
Important stuff. Yeah, this is not small talk.
This is not am I pretty?
Right.
This is an actual important conversation.
So it starts to make me wonder, is Star losing his mind now? Like, is he so consumed with his appearance now that he's letting the main thing not be the main thing? I'm thinking that's what's going on.
Yes.
Star asks Featherstone if she's found the Christ child, and she tells him, no, this is about Tulip. And she explains that Tulip had infiltrated Masada in the classic wig and suit Trojan horse style. Star asks Hoover's replacement what Featherstone's talking about, and he answers, I think she's hysterical. This pisses her off, and she looks at him, and she's like, who the hell is he? And Star explains that he is the new Hoover, and he calls him, ready for this, Hoover 2. Very original. He also says that they're working on something, so get to the point. So Featherstone gets to the point and tells him about Tulip again. At this point, we cut to Tulip, who's now in the middle of this Rorschach test that's going down, and the doctor's holding up things, and pretty much all she can see is blood or guts, her stepfather's brain after being hit with the softball bat, maybe a little bit of blood and guts on top of that too. You get the point. And the doctor starts to tabulate his notes, and he concludes that she's, and I quote, an uninhibited deviant with a personality disorder, prone to psychoactive outbursts and a gun fetish, and unresolved abandonment issues. Tulip agrees and says, yeah, sounds about right. And the doctor then says he's sorry for her. And Tulip's like, it's okay. Some people just can't be helped. So,
yes.
I mean, she's known this for a while now. She knows she's an O'Hare and what she comes from, and she knows that she's simply just that. Now, I'm not saying she's worthless or anything like that, Steve. I'm just saying this is her, I guess you could say this is a snapshot of her self-esteem.
They're definitely playing this whole Tulip and Featherstone thing together. Like, I mean, they're both going to end up, I think, hating the same person. Featherstone does not like that she was called hysterical. Tulip is obviously anti the Grail. I mean, the enemy of my enemy.
Do you think it's going to end poorly for Featherstone?
Yes, but I think not before Featherstone makes it end poorly for Hairstar.
Nice. I hope that happens.
I can't wait.
We cut back to Cass's cell, and he and the Archangel are now finishing off a song together, Steve, and they just break out into laughter afterwards.
The man that drinks a small beer goes to bed quite sober. Fades as the leaves do fade, fades as the leaves do fade, fades as the leaves do fade that drop off in October.
Ireland, a terrible thing of beauty she is, with her wet corners and rushy bottoms.
Yeah, you miss her something awful.
Alas, plenty of Irish in Brooklyn last I heard.
Plenty of Irish in Brooklyn.
I feel a loss, actually. I feel like you and I should have had that moment where we're both like,
Well, we didn't, but in boarding school, we had a song that we would all sing together before starting the day. Like all the fellas would be like this long, rousing song and then be like, yeah, charge.
Do you think it's only middle-aged European guys that break out into the flies in the bottom of the shoe, fly shoe, skip to Maloo, my darling, and then they're like, They always laugh after the song, much like they did in like Lord of the Rings.
Like we don't even have I don't know if it was Armenian, but they have like a dance they do in a circle while like they're all doing this dance going in a circle. I'm like, we don't have that dance. We don't have dances like that. Like at a wedding reception, we just do whatever dances we're doing individually. We don't have like, let's do the whatever. And we lock arms and do the whatever.
You guys don't line dance? They don't do this. You just laugh. You're not doing the electric slide, Steve?
Now that we are.
So that's line dancing. I hate to tell you that, but it's line dancing.
Actually, I don't believe that is.
I think it is. The electric slide, everyone's lined up, Steve. You're just trying to make yourself feel better about this. It is line dancing.
I wouldn't be surprised if we created line dancing and then Cowboys took everything else.
I mean, you folks have tremendous rhythm.
We do. We do. Like once that thing gets on and one person starts doing it, oh, sucky.
Oh, sucky now. It just becomes this big group effort, huh?
Yep.
I'm going with it. I think you guys actually created line dancing, and it was taken away from you.
I wouldn't be surprised at all.
You and I have both said off mic that we felt that this scene was a little bit on the pointless side, right?
Yes.
And it's getting more fan service in there. It's just simply going, hey, here's somebody that you won't see for more than 5 seconds. That said, I'm going to go ahead and break it down.
Okay.
So we're back at the diner, and Eugene is finishing up dropping a deuce, and this has never happened to me, and I hope it never does. However, there is a man in the stall next to him that decides to play footsie, so he brings his foot over and he taps him on the foot. He's like, hey, in there. Eugene, not knowing any better, taps his foot back, and the man does it again. And Eugene asks him, do you need some toilet paper or something? The guy's like, I don't understand what you're saying. He's like, just put your mouth to the hole. So he taps the toilet paper out. The toilet paper falls, and you find this glory hole. He tells him put his mouth to the hole. And Eugene's like, do you want me to pass the toilet paper through? Because he's so innocent, of course. Guys, just put your mouth to the hole. Now, this is the fucked up part. Eugene looks through the hole, and he says, cool. He says, you want me to pass some TP through there or something like that? And the man tells him to put his mouth to the hole again. Don't you think that it was all too quickly that Eugene just says, okay, and puts his mouth up to the hole?
I mean, the thing is, it's a dirty door,
right?
And Eugene doesn't even think, no, this is a disgusting door.
Right. I mean, at the very least, you consider germs and hygiene, right?
Totally. I mean, but then again, he is sitting on that nasty public toilet.
This is true. What are your thoughts about dropping deuce in public, man?
I don't do it.
What happens if you have to, though?
I hover.
You hover. Okay, so you've done it, but you don't like it.
No, I do not like it.
You do it with protest. Okay, just wondering. Yes. I'm all about the seat cover. You know what I mean? I think that does create that false sense of security.
Oh gosh, you know what my fear is?
What's that?
Don't ask me why this is. I go to a public toilet and it's a dirty one, and I go to sit down and the toilet seat is lifted up and I fall into the actual like porcelain nastiness of the toilet.
That's your fear?
Yes, because my hand would scrape on old poop, and so I'd be like, oh, like I would literally, I might just jump into a volcano.
Just jump into some boiling water and make it all better.
Yeah, it's over,
huh?
dude. It's over. I'm done with this skin.
Wow.
I have to reskin myself.
How you liking the show so far, folks? We're talking about all the important stuff today.
Yes. And so, yeah, this scene, dude, I just think it goes for no reason, G.
I like that freaks you out more than the glory hole.
Here's the thing. That could happen. The glory hole thing, like, who puts their mouth up against the door?
Bro, I have no visual proof of this, but it's a real thing.
It is, but they know what they're doing.
It's tough times for some folks out there. We live by a park, Steve, where this stuff goes down.
But Eugene is not. We have to assume Eugene has never seen the light of day.
Oh, of course. Of course. This is total naivete right here. He's just like, okay, I'll put my mouth up to it. Yeah. He goes like this.
And it's hard to just to just be like, accept that he's this dumb. That's all.
I would go with innocent over dumb, but maybe a little bit dumb.
Yeah, I'm going dumb.
Yeah, okay, he's dumb. So like I said, he all too quickly goes and puts his mouth up against this thing. And what's funny is that we all know that his name is Arseface on the show because his mouth looks like an arse, if you will, ladies and gentlemen. He puts it up to the freaking glory hole. The guy's like, whoa, slow down there, big guy. I said your mouth to the hole. Whatever happened to foreplay? It's really funny. The visual's great because it was, I mean, it really looked like that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. At this point, the man leaves and we hear, freeze, hands up, perverts. The door gets kicked open, and the man that was sitting at the counter previously flashes a badge and yells, sex detectives! Face on the floor, freak! This is the only reference that we get to them being sex detectives. Yeah, man, I mean, I'm not trying to be negative, but I know the readers were like going, what the fuck was this even for?
Exactly.
I don't know. It was just unnecessary. I know it was a good gesture on their part, but it seemed completely unnecessary. And it's such a cool little story that they have that it was a complete waste. They didn't seem like the sex detectives. There was no hint of any kind of, there was no Easter egg is what I'm getting at. You know, it was just an unnecessary drop.
Agreed.
So from there, Eugene is taken outside and he's put in the car. And he's yelling for the Saint of Killers as he's sitting at the table. We actually see the inside. We're sitting there with Saint, and we see Eugene get put into the car and he's screaming for him. The other detective says, well, what am I supposed to do with him? He tells him, take him back to the orphanage. And they drive away. Saint of Killers exits the diner and he starts to follow them, but then he just stops. Why, you ask? He's the Saint of Killers. He's going to figure this out the easy way. So in the car, the detective that's driving asks Eugene to move over a little bit because Eugene's sitting right in the middle of the back seat. Don't you hate when people do that? You can't even see out your damn rearview mirror.
Yes.
Yeah, Eugene scoots over at the perfect time, by the way, because we hear this distant gunshot. And the driver starts to thank Eugene for moving, but he doesn't even get his full sentence out. And boom, his head explodes all over the window from one of Saint of Killer's bullets, much like in Pulp Fiction. Very Pulp Fiction-y type of a scene. Car skids out of control. Not really out of control. It actually just kind of skids to the side of the road, and it stops when it hits a fence. And we cut. We're now sitting in the airport with Jesse, and he lights up a smoke. A woman approaching him, she's getting ready to tell him, sorry, sir, but you can't smoke. And he's just like, I'm allowed to smoke in here. The woman leaves. Just then, Jesse hears a voice from behind him, and he turns to find himself face to face with none other than Adolf Hitler.
I'm in town for a conference, and I heard you were here, so I thought it would be nice to stop and say hello. I want to tell you that there is nothing I would like more, Preacher Caster, than for you to join me in hell. Satan is dead. I am in charge now. Pretty cool, yeah?
Yeah. Your parents must be real proud of you.
Oh, they are. When I'm not having them flayed alive with knotted whips. I can't wait for you to hear my plans and see all the changes I'm making.
I ain't going to hell.
After what you have done? Well, you are coming, sooner or later.
Yeah, well, we'll see about that.
After you talk to God, you are not going to talk to God because you're not going to get to God. He will never let you get to Him.
Let me. You know what I can do? What I have?
I know you have a great power.
Get on your knees.
Not only a great power, I have the greatest power in the universe.
Put your hands around your throat and squeeze. Harder. Harder. Stop.
And right before Hitler strangles himself to death, he actually lets go.
Why?
Right? I mean, it's Adolf Hitler.
Why not just kill him?
Just, yeah, I mean, remedy that.
And
Adolf
then
Hitler.
you use it on him, but fought all those people. It's just, dude.
What world are we in where it's we're in, like, I guess 20s, what do you think, 2018, 2019? I'm not entirely sure where we're at. Now, if you, Steve, were sitting in an airport and you turned around and this guy introduces himself as Adolf Hitler, are you buying it?
Here's the thing. I would say if I knew it was him, I'd be like, hold your breath and just get on the plane. Oh, wait, never mind. Because once he fell unconscious, he would start breathing again.
What else could he do to him? He'd be like, dip your head in the toilet. Don't come up until you pass out. See, then he'd pass out and then he would drown.
That's the only way to do it. Or you'd be like, find a gun, shoot yourself. And that's what he'd do. Yep, that's what he'd do. Find a gun, shoot yourself.
Jesse, just using the word for the right reasons all the time.
Yes. He's just letting Hitler off. Let go. And then gets on a plane.
Walk down the hall and get me a Cinnabon.
Seriously.
Once Hitler lets go of his own neck, Jesse tells him that nobody lets him do shit, and he's going to go talk to God, whether Hitler wants him to or not. Hitler tells him that he'll see him soon, and he probably will. And just then, we hear the stupidest thing ever as we hear honk honk, and Jesse looks out the window and sees Pilot Steve sitting in the cockpit of this big-ass plane. Steve, I ask you, do big planes have a honk honk horn?
I have zero clue.
Silly stuff, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
These are the little things we don't need to worry about, of course. We're now back in the infirmary, and Featherstone has discovered that Tulip's been discharged, and she is not happy about it. She tells the doctor that she's a lunatic, and the doctor's like, yeah, well, there's no cure for that. Like, that's why we let her go.
Yeah.
Featherstone cuts her losses with that conversation and goes to look for Cass. We cut to Tulip, who's entering Cass's cell, and she finds only the Archangel. Archangel tells her that Cassidy is actually a lucky bastard because he got sent to Bensonhurst. I don't know why the angel wants to be there, but apparently he's envious of him. And at this point, we see Cass, who's getting willed down the halls of Masada. He's getting willed out like Hannibal Lecter. He's got the mask on and everything. And he still has that feather, the fart feather, Steve. I'm thinking that he's going to use it for like a jailbreak or something like that.
Totally. And he looks like Cassidy again. Like his eyes look like, oh, it's on, baby.
We go back to Eugene, who's driving the sex detective's car, and there's blood still all over the windshield and everything. And Eugene is actually praying for the dead detective. He also asks forgiveness for Santa Killers for shooting the man. He tells Santa Killers that he does not like all this killing, and the saint tells him to tell it to God because it's his plan, right?
It's true.
Eugene kind of goes, okay, nods a little bit, and he wipes off a little bit more blood from the windshield, which does absolutely nothing, by the way. Like, if they saw a cop, of course the cop's going to die. It's the saint. But still, it's going to attract attention. We then cut back to one final scene where we see Jesse sitting by himself on this plane. He feels a little bit of turbulence, and then suddenly the TV monitor, the ones that are in the seat, turns on. It shows some footage. It's kind of like scratchy and cut up and everything like that, but it is in fact that press statement that Starr was working on, and the reporter's saying that there's a worldwide hunt going on for Jesse, and that Jesse is in fact evil incarnate. So anyway, the plane starts experiencing this turbulence again, and Pilot Steve gets on the intercom, and he's saying that they've hit a little patch of quote-unquote something, and remains seated and calm. At that moment, Jesse hears Tulip's voice behind him, and she says, "You didn't even say goodbye." He turns to find no one there, and all of a sudden the plane goes into like a full-on nosedive. Jesse says, "Shit," it goes dark, and we hear the sound of metal crunching, possibly a crash. I'm not exactly sure what happens right here, but I'll tell you one thing, folks. We've reached the end of episode 3.
Okay, Dan, are you happy now that we're done and we've kind of talked it through a little bit? What do you feel about episode 3?
I am looking at this entire season under a certain kind of filter, like I've said. So for what the season is and what they're giving us, I'm okay with it, you know, but I'm still a little bothered that they took the time to show us these characters that are beloved, or maybe infamous, depending on how you look at it, and they just waste them on little 5-minute spots. It's a little bit of a disappointment, but at this point, I don't think we have a choice. I know we don't have a choice either way. And I'm just going to take it for what it is, man. We're going to ride off into the sunset, and Preacher's going to conclude, and I'm going to be good with it either way.
I agree.
Let's take a little bit from Heroes of Noise and bring it over to the Word, Steve. Let's rate this one.
Okay.
What do you give to Preacher Season 4, Episode 3, Deviant?
I will give it 2 out of 5 fart feathers.
Nice. I like that. I like that one. I was going to use something else, but I'm going with it too. I'm with you, man. I'm going to go ahead and give it 2 out of 5 fart feathers as well.
Yeah, this was fine. I think it's a setup for what's to come. And I am excited that we get Cassidy back. So yeah, I liked it.
I have a feeling that at this point, each episode's going to be crazier than the last. That's how they're going to go out. They're going to go out hardcore.
I cannot wait.
I don't feel like I'm feeling genuine excitement from you.
Well, I'm not going to be excited until I actually see Cassidy do Cass. I've been waiting for 4 seasons for Cassidy to be Cassidy. And when they give me a Cassidy being Cassidy, I am going to literally probably levitate. Because everyone else got to be themselves. Saint, Eugene, Tulip, Preacher, all of them got to do the Featherstone, Hoover. They all got to do their thing. Hair Star. I want to see Cassidy be like, oh, this punch you're throwing, if you hit my hand, it will break
your whole hand breaks, right?
Your whole hand breaks.
But it seems like anybody can fight him.
That's what I'm saying. And have a shot.
So I don't think that we're actually going to get that. I think that you might be setting yourself up for disappointment, because if people are already striking him, just mortal men are striking him and can kind of roll with him in a fight, why would he all of a sudden get all super strong?
That's true, because there was only one person that could even mess with him in the comic, and that was Jesse. And even after Jesse kind of messed with him, he went into the car and was like, I think I've broken every bone in my body. In my hand.
That was such a good part of the comic, man.
Oh, that was so good. Anyway, that is it for me. And I'm going to let you know that I am not super down on the show, but I was disappointed that we haven't gotten Cass, and it looks like we're going to be getting Cass in the next episode, possibly. So people, keep your head up. Enjoy the ride. We're about to get into a crazy season, I have a feeling. And make sure that you understand that we're just giving these wonderful, amazing actors, writers, directors a good farewell. And make sure you give them a hat off salute too. They are going out with a blast, and let's give them all the love we can. This is Steve. Holla.
I echo what he says. I think we should support the show. Let's have fun with it. Why in the hell not? It's going away, right? Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this last episode. If you guys would like to have a brand spanking new, the Unofficial Preacher Podcast t-shirt, go to www.heroesofnoise.com. Scroll down, you're going to see it right there. Click on it, and it is yours. It's that simple. Thanks so much for listening, guys. We'll be back next week to talk about Episode 4. My name is Dan Ramirez. That's it for me, ladies and gentlemen. We will talk to you next week. Be good to yourselves. Be good to the people around you. And thanks for listening to the world.